Welcome to the preview of Pro Wrestling Noah's Night 4 of the N1 Victory Tournament. I'm Adam Lovell of the Noah Network, as always, hosting this for you. We're going to run down this card real quick. There are only 6 matches on this show. Well, there are 8 matches, but there are only 6 tournament matches, and that's what we're going to be looking at right now. First off, we're going to look at Kenno Okada taking on Jack Morris in what is sure to be a fiery, hard-fought matchup. But I think Jack Morris is going to pull this out. Jack Morris came in here, defeated Kaito Kiyomiya. It was a hard-fought match, but he came out on the right end of it. Then he went on to lose to Satoshi Kojima, in a very hard-fought match as well. Nobody knows hard-fought matches more than Kenno Okada, but he's lost all of them so far, and I don't want to insult the man. I like him. I can't wait until he becomes a big star, and I still think that day is going to come, but I don't think it starts here. I think Jack Morris gets his second win here, but it'll be a battle, and it'll be fun to watch. Masaki Mochizuki versus Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. I hesitated there because this is tough to call. Mochizuki, if you've been following this tournament, you know he hasn't won a match yet, and he's better than that. He's better than that, but this is the most prestigious wrestling tournament in the world. So, you can't fault anybody for struggling in it. Wagner Jr. has the biggest upset in the tournament. Now, you could argue that Jack Morris defeating Kaito Kiyomiya was bigger, but I say Wagner Jr. for Fujita was a bigger upset, and it was kind of sloppily done, and it shocked me, honestly. I'm not going to get hung up on the ending and how I didn't like how it looked, but it is a fact. What I like about Mochizuki is that he always goes into these matches with a plan. Now, some of you are going to chuckle and say, well, his plans don't work. Granted, they haven't worked so far, but I'm enjoying how he goes into the match with a plan of attack. And I think he's going to do that here, and I think he's going to get his first win. Now, I think, real quickly, I think his plan is going to be to exploit the lucha moves of Wagner Jr. What do I mean by that? Lucha used to just mean wrestling, right? Mexican wrestling, what have you. But in this modern day era, lucha means to almost every fan out there leaping, jumping, twisting, diving, twirling, craziness, right? And no, Wagner Jr. doesn't do tons of that, but he is susceptible to do some of it. His top rope frog splash, his tope suicidas, some other things. And I think Mochizuki's going to take advantage of that and lure him into using moves like that whenever Mochizuki is more ready for them than Wagner thinks he is. And I think he'll exploit that, and I think he gets his first win. Oh, Kenno, my man, the leader of Congo, taking on Ozaki. This will be a battle. This will be a war. This will be as serious it gets. I'm going to love this match, but I'm going to cry a little bit at the end because I think Ozaki wins it. More often than not, when champions enter a tournament, the purpose behind such a thing is for the champions to encounter challengers, to create challengers. And we already saw one in Tanaka. You know darn well Tanaka's going to be requesting a title shot sometime after this tournament since he just beat Kenno. And I think the same thing's going to line up for Ozaki. I think this is going to be very tough on both guys. It's extremely hard for me to pick a winner, but I think, unfortunately, the champion will retain his title because this isn't a title match. I'm holding my invisible title belt. But he'll lose again to Ozaki, setting up another challenger after this tournament. But this is a match you will not want to miss. And I hate picking against Kenno. My bias in me loves Kenno and doesn't want to see him lose, but moving on. Kazuchika Nakajima versus Takashi Zagura. I'm sorry for the hesitation, guys, and the shaking my head, and it's not real professional, I guess, but I am so torn here. Now, I want Nakajima to win every match he's in. Nakajima is my favorite guy in Noah. I love Kazuchika Nakajima. But I know Takashi Zagura is a badass killing machine that just will tear people's heads off, as you saw him almost literally try to do to Kenno Okada in his last match. Did you ever have dandelions in your yard when you were a kid? Those weeds with the little yellow flowers that were weeds, and you'd pick them out of the yard, and you'd put your thumb under the head of the flower, and you'd say, Mama had a baby and its head popped off? Or was that just a mid-Pennsylvania thing, center Pennsylvania thing? When we were kids, you just pick those flowers and say that little poem or whatever and flick the heads off of the dandelions. That's what it looked like Takashi Zagura was trying to do to Kenno Okada. He won't do that to Katsuhiko Nakajima. I mean, he might try, but it's not going to be the same level of success. I'm going to predict my first draw here. Okay, we've not had a draw yet. Granted, this is only the 4th day of the tournament, but I think these guys are going to go to a 30-minute draw. I think this because they're both such badasses. I think this because there's only six tournament matches, and all these other shows have had at least 7. Gives them a little time to play with. And I think they add the extra 15 minutes here, and I think this match goes to a draw. But it's going to be worth every minute. The Battle of Saguragun. Kazuyuki Fujita takes on Hideki Suzuki. This match is going to be a little bit like Masa Kitamiya's last match against Fujita. I'm not comparing those 4 wrestlers completely, like saying they're identical or even a whole lot alike. But I think the style and the approach of this match is going to be similar to Masa Kitamiya versus Funaki. I think Hideki Suzuki is going to try to make Kazuyuki Fujita tap out. He's going to try to tie him up. He's going to lure him into his spider web, right, Stu Fulton? I think that's what he'll try to do. That's what works best for him. But I think Fujita has enough power to pretty much rip himself out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like Masa Kitamiya did against Funaki. I really think it's going to be a similar type of strategy. And I think that's what's going to give Fujita the victory. I think his strength is going to limit the amount of wrapping up Suzuki can do to him. And because of that, he'll wear Suzuki down and win this matchup. And finally, we got Masa Kitamiya versus Satoshi Kojima. Satoshi Kojima lost his first match against Takashi Zagura, and he's been on fire since. Looking great. Looking like the former GHC heavyweight champion he is. Looking like one of the only Grand Slam champions in Japan. One of 4. But Masa Kitamiya is looking better than I think I've ever seen him look, and I've always been a fan of his, especially when he was in Congo. God, I wish he would have stayed in there. They miss him. I miss him. This is going to be brutal. This is going to be tough. This is going to be 2 bull of the woods, if you will, Daddy, going at it hard and strong. And I think Masa Kitamiya beats him. I think Masa Kitamiya gets the win. I think he continues his onslaught. I think he continues his march through this tournament. He lost to Nakajima in the first match, and he's beaten everybody else since, including Funaki. If you can overcome that challenge, you can overcome this one, and that's no offense to Satoshi Kojima. But I think Masa Kitamiya stands tall once again and continue his onslaught through this tournament until it gets to the end. I'm not ready to predict him as the winner yet, but it wouldn't shock me, the wrestling the way he is, if he's in the finals. Guys, this has been your preview of Night 4 coming up on August 17th. Pro Wrestling Noah, wrestling done right, and I'll see you again real soon.